the focused piece today is when you don't understand the emotions that you're having or the feelings that you're having, you are going to feel out of control of them. You're going to feel like there's something that's controlling you, whether it's your circumstance or a grumpy partner or an out of control kid or a household that's in chaos. You're going to have the experience, or maybe it's your work and your job, like too much to do. You're in the crunch all the time, right? So when you have that, when you're dragging around that baggage with you, the emotions underneath that, they are participating with you. Those negative emotions are participating with you to continue to create that same reality, to continue to create the same results, like kids back talking or a partner disregarding you. So dragging around that heavy baggage is contributing to the consistent creation of that overwhelm. Do you guys get that? I know my clients get it. But tell me, if you're new here, tell me, does that make sense to you? I really want to teach this and say this in a way that you guys all get it. So if I feel irritated, I am going to expect people to irritate me. Okay, without going deeper into that, I'm going to leave it at that. All right? So I want you to tell me if this makes sense to you. Right, like attracts like. Like attracts like. So if I'm feeling deeply wounded about not being respected, guess what I'm going to get? I'm just going to attract people into my life or interactions into my marriage or in parenting that confirm that wound is true and persisting now, here and now. Even if it started when I was 3 or 7, it's persisting now. Okay? And so when we drag these things around with us, then we continue to make them true. And we continue to prove that we're right. Nobody respects me. I'm obviously right about that because I can see all the evidence of it. Yeah, did you guys get that? Right. Yeah, exactly. The more I struggle with self-doubt and think I can't do things, then the more I get into the rut. Exactly. So history repeats itself and we become more entrenched in feeling overwhelmed and disempowered to changing that pattern. And these are patterns and they do run deeply. I could say more about that, but we're just going to focus on one emotion that's heavy or intense. That's really difficult for you to hold and carry. Okay, this week. And so when those emotions are like heavy or they just don't feel good, we actually feel, we often will be afraid to feel them. It's happening for all of us on some level. It is a human experience and it is universal and it is nothing that we can ever avoid. However, the more awakened we become, the more engaged in our experience we become, the less these things will bite us in the butt. The easier life becomes, the happier we are. You know, the more stable family becomes. When we don't understand the feeling though, so let's say you're coming into this cleanse and you think like, obviously I know I have a lot of baggage, but like I haven't done the inner work, or I've done it, but it never got to the level of what I needed in order to really remove that experience from me, to get past it and find freedom from that. Well, those things that are kind of underneath the surface are generally really scary to feel. So what does that mean? It means like we just want to avoid them. We just don't want to feel them. You know, like, sure, I'll deal with it. I'll do it, you know, if it doesn't take any work and it's easy. But I don't want to feel that thing. I just want to run from it because it's yucky to feel that stuff, right? And there's this big misconception out there that I hear from people all the time, like, it's going to be really hard. It's going to be really painful for me to feel that feeling or tolerate that feeling. And the reality is that is not true at all. That is never what I find. What I find is it's way more crushing to avoid the feeling the trauma, not heal the wound, than it is to actually just move through it. But most people don't have the skills and the tools to just move through it. So and you have the sort of the catch-22 of all of this. This goes way back, you guys. Like when we were little and our parents couldn't tolerate us feeling upset or angry at them or, overwhelmed or whatever it is, we learned how to squelch the feeling. We learned how to just kind of be okay. How to just move forward and not focus on the feeling. We learned how to kind of just pull ourselves through because they couldn't tolerate how we felt. And, how it looked on the surface was like, you're okay. People think that if you haven't never been to therapy, you might think your parents are just really did an amazing job and are great, evolved people. And maybe they are, but they all screwed it up, just like we're screwing up. They all screwed up. Let's just normalize that. Like, yeah, our parents let us down. Yeah, there were times when we felt trauma. We thought we might die from something that was so hard. Like, that's just normal. That's every day. That's everyone. Trauma is when you perceived. It's a perceived threat to your existence. It isn't that your life, it was you maybe did not have a life or death. Maybe your life wasn't actually in danger. But if you perceived a threat to your existence as a soul, individual, as a person, then you experienced a trauma. Okay, so let's just normalize that. We're all carrying something like that. And guess what? Like for most of us, it was okay until we became mothers. And then that wasn't okay anymore. And then I felt like really overwhelmed by all the things that I had not really healed. That's normal too. All right? And this is where my clients find me. This is where that's the entry point for like, I can't like get around this experience and get in control of my life and myself. I'm trying to control the kids. That's not working. I'm trying to squeeze help and support out of my partner. That's not working. And so we're just all miserable. And we all have the feelings and we all have the traumas that need to heal. And we all have the wounds that show up in motherhood. And it may feel like they're new. They're not new, but it's okay if you think they're new. And so what we want to do is understand like these are old feelings bubbling up to be healed. These are old feelings that are bubbling up to be healed, to be cleared, and to be released. Okay? Get that? Okay. So rather than hiding from our own emotions, rather than sort of pretending we're not feeling something because it's not convenient or it's so uncomfortable, it makes our skin crawl. We just are so uncomfortable with vulnerability. And that's normal too, you guys. That's normal to feel totally turned off by vulnerability in ourselves or in a partner because that's what we come from, okay? So if our parents didn't know how to hold our feelings or our sadness with us or for us, then it became a bad thing. Then being vulnerable became a bad thing. So say below, if at any point you've noticed this in your experience, that it's bad to be emotional. You're too emotional. You're too sensitive. These are insults in families. Don't be so sensitive. Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Stop it. You're fine. Come on. You're okay. Does any of that sound familiar? Do you hear yourself saying it to your child, to your sensitive child? It's triggering when they get upset. It's triggering. So say below, come on, you're fine. Tuck your feelings back in for fuck's sake. Suck it up and just be okay. We want to force that to happen. And you guys know what happens when we try to do that to our kids. What is the result? What do you end up getting back? Right, stop whining. Stop whining. Oh, stop your whining. Right. Oh, Kate's so dramatic. Right. Oh, you're so dramatic. Maybe you were the dramatic one in your family, or you were the sensitive one. You were the weak one. You were the one who, this all story, right? And now we put these kids on our stories, and we teach them to pack down what they're feeling. And the worst end of that is we never learn how to gain control over our emotional self. We go up into the head and we live up there and we try to control everything with our thoughts by analyzing and solving the problem. And there is no solving the problem like that. It can't happen. We will never stop chasing the tail of that. Yeah, exactly. You guys are with me. So rather than continuing to make it wrong, or stuff it down, or avoid it, or make it bad for our kids or for ourselves or for our partners who have vulnerability as well, let's do something else with that. Let's do something productive with that. All right? Let's become the owners of our experience in a way that's bigger than we have before. There is infinite power and potential within you, every one of you, and within me, to live a life that is so rich in connection and so abundant in peace and calm and self-trust that we can be more relaxed in motherhood than we have been before it. And that may sound crazy, and you may think, oh my God, I wish that was possible for me. Let's start together here, giving you a taste of what that's like, okay?